Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
And I'm Ginny Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you'll hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise.
Do you feel guilty for having a good life? Guilty for having success? Has someone either directly or indirectly tried to bring you down while you are in the process of evolving emotionally, mentally, or financially? Do you feel you need to keep yourself small in order to make someone else feel better about themselves? How do you respond when someone tries to bait you and rope you into their chaos? Welcome back, everybody. Can you believe it? We're on episode 10. We're so excited to have you here. And this episode is called Shine, Baby, Shine.
Yeah, I love that.
That was a good one, Amanda.
Thanks. Sometimes they just hit. Other times it's like we let the show guide it, like last time.
This was definitely, though, that it's so true. And we just want to thank you guys. Because, again, episode 10, it's so cool to think back when Amanda and I first started wanting to do this show. And now here we are at episode 10. And
woohoo, double digits.
Yes, we're just so grateful. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And we know, you only have so much time. And there are so many options of podcasts you can listen to. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes, it's amazing. There are some of you I know that have listened to every show. Some of you can catch a little bit here and there, and we're just grateful for whatever time you spend with us. So, as always, the whole spiel, follow us, comment, leave a 5-star review, 4-star, 3-star, whatever it is, just be honest. And again, we always want your feedback, what we're doing good, what we could make better, because this show is for you. We're doing a lot of healing here as well.
Big time.
But we need to know what is hitting you guys the most, what is affecting you, what's resonating, what's not, so that we can do what we feel we were put on earth to do better.
Exactly, because everybody's got a thing, man, and we need you. We need you here, and we need you in your best self, right? That's what we're all trying to do, because each time we do that, we give other people permission to do the same. So
exactly, and every time we shine, we give other people the permission to shine as well. Marianne Williamson's poem, that's the essence. I remember hearing that. I was about 2 years sober, and I was at a spiritual retreat, and they sent us home with that poem, and I had it on the fridge for our deepest something. Anyway, our deepest fear, maybe?
Okay.
Deepest fear? I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Anyway, yeah. So it's about giving people permission to shine because you're doing it. So it has to start somewhere, and that's pretty much what the essence of this show is about. You are allowed to feel good around people who are in pain. Now, I'm not saying to be uncompassionate. Again, we talked about, like on the last show, like run around protecting your energy, and I'm never going to go into anybody's pain, and I'm always going to keep myself on the up and up and my energy really high. What we're going to teach you today, what this show is about, is how do you dip into that with people? Right. How do you go into that space with people? How long do you stay there? And then you're allowed, and you actually have a duty to come out of that back into your own space in order to shine and lift people out of that.
Yeah, it's so true. You come up with some great topics here, Amanda.
It's life experience.
It is.
It's just like I went through something a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I just had this thought. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to talk about, because
it's a huge one. It's a huge one for me, because it's something I struggled with, I think, the better part of my life. And somebody who's had that, level of codependence of needing to take care of everyone and making sure everyone's okay and not upsetting anyone and all of that. I had massive issues from the time I've been a kid with being okay with like letting myself shine in a space. And realizing now, I'm like, I'm 40 something. Okay, I don't know what, but 40 something. Realizing I didn't do anybody any favors, even at the time. If they would have felt threatened by whatever it was I had going on, I didn't do them any favors by shrinking. All these years later, I realize it. I'm like, okay.
And that's the lie of codependency.
Yeah.
Is that if you change yourself, or you twist and contort yourself to try to make somebody else happy or give them what they want, that it's going to make them feel better. You're actually doing people a disservice by enabling them and not giving them the power to rise up and heal whatever, deal with whatever they have to do. When we swoop in and come and fix it for them,
Right.
It's all about us. It's all about our need to be needed.
So funny. God, it's so weird.
Fills our self-worth. It's very rarely about the other person. Yes, we love people and we want to help people and all that kind of stuff. It's not like that's not part of it at all.
Right.
But it's self-serving. It's extremely self-serving because there's a part of us that feels that if I can make this all better, then I'm good. I must be good.
So much of this in what you have like scratched upon with this topic too is just the idea that, well, if I'm feeling good, that means I'm making them feel bad. If I feel good, like that the two are the same thing, and they're not. Yeah. They're not the same thing at all.
So I'm Italian, and we have something called the Italian guilt.
Oh boy, the Italian guilt. I don't know if any
of you out there are Italian and can relate to this.
But or Hispanic, or just Catholic.
Yes. It's probably...
I don't know. Italians too, though. Oh boy,
but most Italians, I'd say the majority, if I could generalize for a minute.
Yes.
Most Italians are Roman Catholic, right?
It's true.
That's sort of like the deal. Like in Italy, Rome, the Pope. I mean, like the Vatican. Like that's just
the roots are deep.
Yeah, and then they come here.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I think it's probably less of a, ethnic thing or cultural thing, more of a religious thing. So we also have something in that Italian culture called the black drape. Does anybody know about the black drape?
Ooh, I bet you all know exactly what you're talking about after you say it, but I've never heard it referenced by name.
The black drape is when somebody dies, the women used to wear black for the rest of their lives. Say their husband dies. Yeah. They wear black
for the rest of life?
For the rest of their lives. And they mourn for the rest of their lives.
Yikes.
Wow.
I mean, of course, we do that anyway when we lose people. Of course we mourn, but damn.
But to make such an outward display of that to the point where that's infiltrating your brain, your heart, your mind, and you're going to be depressed and you're going to feel bad and guilty, turn to some sort of addiction, like we talk about all the time, feel disconnected from yourself and others. Yeah. It's a spirit killer. It is a soul-crushing spirit killer to think that because somebody else is gone, that now I have to place myself in suffering for the rest of my life because I'm guilty because I'm still alive.
Because I'm still here. I got to be here still. Naturally, in the cycle of life, we're gonna lose more people, and they're gonna lose us like one day, right? And to think it's one of the most normal things that's gonna happen, but immediately as it happens, you're gonna be marked as mourning and never the same ever again. Like, nor can you you can't grow past this point because the person's gone and you're still here.
And the reality is, with all of the spiritual seeking, the workshops, the things that I've learned from other people, from what's going on the other side, is they don't want that for you. Your deceased loved one on the other side wants you to be
keep going,
joyous and free and to shine as bright as they are in the spirit world. Yeah. We do it because we think maybe they can see us, or they know, or they're, I can't be enjoying my life because what are they going to think, from the other side, whatever. No. They want you to live. Yeah. At my brother's funeral in the church, the day of his funeral, his actual funeral, my sister-in-law told me after this, I didn't even hear it because I was in such a blackout. I was just like in such a deep, my brain was like on overdrive, protecting me.
For sure.
And she said, do you know that the priest said, life is for the living? And I said, I didn't even hear that. No, thank you so much. And I tell other people that now, too, that are mourning. Yes, I'm not saying to start doing cartwheels at the funeral, but what I'm saying...
Have a parade. And they're dead. We're so happy.
But, we talked about this before, maybe in episode 6, See You on the Other Side, about how there are cultures that celebrate when people pass away, right?
They're like, good for them.
So I'm not saying to skip over the feeling at all, because then you're not feeling. Bigger
problems,
too. Then you're avoiding, you're healing, you're not feeling, you're not dealing with your grief. So I'm not saying we're going to put on this, happy face, everything is great. No. But there's a time for mourning, and there's a time for living, right? And why I'm bringing that whole thing up is because it translates on day-to-day sort of interactions that we have with people that are suffering or that are in pain. And we think that it's selfish for us to feel good because it's I'm betraying them, or I'm, going to make them feel bad if I'm feeling happy. No. How about we flip that idea upside down and think of it as I have a duty, and I'm not talking about toxic positivity. I'm not talking about that at all. Feel the pain with them, acknowledge it, let them know that they are seen and heard and you understand their pain, find the empathy, find the compassion, And then you're allowed to move out of that to attempt to bring them up with you.
Right. Well, I think that when we allow ourselves to still be that, and again, yes, to recognize, to honor, to respect someone in that place, it's also kind of like when you're in the ocean and you're getting like toppled by waves, and every now and again you can look up and be like, oh, the beach is just that far away. Hope.
Yes.
To even if you're watching somebody like, oh, I know this sucks and I'm drowning. But this next wave might just actually roll me back on that beach that person's on. Like, it's still some hope, something to look for.
Good example. Yesterday, so my husband just hurt himself.
Oh, man.
He broke a rib. I'm like,
Jim,
God.
that sucks to break a rib.
He fell in the kitchen, and he, like, tripped and fell and cracked his rib on the granite countertop. Like, the man is in so much pain.
Yeah, it's like one of the most painful things, and there's no cast, there's nothing, and you breathe.
And meds aren't even helping. He's still he's taking the meds, and it's not even helping. So
that sucks.
So as we're leaving, there's a guy checking into the hospital to detox.
No way.
It was like a godsend. I felt like we were like angels, like placed in that man's world to like tell him.
Did he talk to you?
We talked to him. So we're saying, and this is interesting because we're leaving.
Dude, I have chills right now. That's amazing.
We're leaving, and Jim is like, wait, no, I just want to like thank the receptionist, the woman who checked us in, because that's
Jim.
just who he is.
That's so who he is.
He's just amazing. So I'm standing there, and I'm like, no, whatever. Like we said, thank you before. That's who I am. We gotta get home, right? We left the kids. The kids home. They're at an age now where we feel like we can.
We've
leave
been
them
doing
home
that
for
too.
about an
It's
hour.
like what a freedom, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
They have their iPods. We FaceTimes. They're fine. So there's so much.
Dolly.
They have their German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois.
She's awesome.
Attack dog who was scared of her own shadow. But
she will convince you. She will whoop your ass. I come to the door and I'm like, oh yeah. Dolly.
Come to the door and you see Dolly barking. You're not coming in.
Now, even though she's
barking because she's scared.
It's okay. Hey, you know what? I like that style, Dolly. I'm going to use some of that, girl. But anyway, so this guy...
So I noticed the guy... Well, I don't notice. I overhear him say, because we're not too far away, the woman asks him, what are you here for? And he said, detox.
From alcohol?
Yes. The guy was in a bad way.
God.
So there's a woman with him. I'm thinking that's his wife.
Yeah.
So we're standing there, and... I don't know, I find a right time to interject, and I go up to the woman, I go, excuse me, and she was really shook. She was, like, really scared. Like, she probably thinks her brother's going to die. Well, it turned out it was his sister, which is, like, another perfect thing, because I lost my brother, right? So it was, like...
That is not by accident. That's
whole thing is amazing. So divine timing is everything. Yeah. I say in my book, it never lets me down.
No.
My life
Jim
is
breaks a rib, and boom, here you guys are.
Here we are, trying to help somebody get to the Castle Rock Clubhouse, right?
Amazing.
I'll tell you guys what that is in a minute. So I go up to the woman, I started talking to her. I said, hey, I said, listen, I said, me and my husband have been sober for quite a while. We're part of a group of people who founded this thing called the Castle Rock Clubhouse. It's a meeting space for 12-step recovery meetings. I don't know if I wish I should carry some business cards on me. But anyway, I told her, she wrote it down. She wrote down the name of the website. She wrote down Jim's number, Jim's name.
Make a QR code for your phone. People can just scan it.
Yes, we do have a QR code.
Okay, put it on your phone.
Yeah, so I was like, are you his wife? I assume you're his wife. She goes, no, I'm his sister. She goes...
So crazy.
And then he turns around, and Jim shakes his hand, and we start talking to him a little bit. And he was like, yes, my sister. I don't even know if I'd be alive if she didn't come and get me, and, all this stuff. And I told him about Jeremy. I was like, oh, man, I probably just put a lot of fear in them. But you know what? Maybe a little bit of fear is not a bad thing.
Kind of good at times like that.
Yeah, I told him. I said, you don't have to die like my brother did. I said, you don't ever have to feel this way again. I said, once you get out of here.
One of the most freaking impactful moments at the time. I mean, come on. Like, of all the people that they could have run into, there are you guys at that time.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful. And like we left, and I was just like, I cannot believe that just happened. Like, that's the reason why we came to the hospital. Like, that is another reason, right, to get Jim some help. But yes, the timing of that, right? If we would have walked out of there 5 minutes later, we would have never seen this guy. Right? No. Just think about that. And as I know, a lot of people like that term, hope dealer. You like that.
Yeah, I love that. Hope dealer.
I said to Jim, like, we were just like hope dealers, man. Like, that was awesome,
Hope dealers. I'm all about that.
So cool. So, so even though this guy was shaking and baking, and he had this, like, you could just tell, like...
He was afraid, you think? You think he was ready? Did he have that vibe about, like, he might have been ready to...
He might be ready. I feel like we might see him.
That would be amazing.
I really feel like we might see him. And so... I sympathized. And then I got like in my power and I said, you don't have to be like this, dude. Like, I have 17 years sober next week. Jim will have 27 years sober in September. Like, it's possible.
Yeah.
And when I left, I said, hey, if we can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
So I took the moment to shine. I took that moment to shine the light of my spirit, of recovery, of hope, right? At this time when this man was suffering. And boom, if that is not so perfect, we've been planning this show for a couple of weeks now. That was like, God's like, I'm going to just give you some material right now, girl.
Here you go. Just talk about this. This will be kind of cool. So you can't get much bigger than that. And I'm glad that you were there because you know what? It's a really interesting place to be, especially somebody who's working in recovery, having lost two really good family members in our family within a very short, 60 days apart.
I did. My cousin Kim was in 4 months later, Jeremy died.
Yeah. So, and both of them were alcoholism. These girls were like my sisters, really, you know? And it was very challenging for me to not have a survivor's guilt.
The survivor's guilt, for sure. Yes, I talk about that a lot in my book, actually.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It is a weird thing to think like, oh, I can feel good around family who just lost their sister and not feel like there's this sense of like, well, why did she not make it and you did? That shit was real for me. And sometimes I keep myself out of the appreciation of still not having alcohol in my system because of that guilt. And that is a thing about not shining. I mean, you took an opportunity to not be like, hey, guy, you know, or to feel bad or to be like, oh, gosh, thank God. Why is it that I'm a lucky one today and he's not? Like, you didn't do that. You were all in it and all the positive level of it without having to feel guilty about.
Or place myself in a position of better than. It wasn't like, hey, look at me. It was just like, dude, I get it. And
you can do it.
This could be over. Like today.
Yeah, this could be the last day you ever feel like this.
I think I may have even dropped the cliche, this could be the first day of the rest of your life.
Nice.
Right? Because,
it's
so true. If you just make the decision to go to recovery or find something that works for you and do it every single day. Every single day you get up, you make that commitment, you decide. And it's not white knuckling every day. You know, I have some family members that are like, oh, I know how hard it is. I know how to. No, it's not hard.
It's not that.
The obsession is removed or it's not. And for me, thank God, it was removed very early on.
Me too.
It's a commitment and a decision to live life the best me, right? To be the best me that I can be, a commitment to growth, a commitment to love, all of that, you know, every single day. That's what recovery looks like for me today. But not to get too far off the path here.
No, but definitely, that's a huge story, and I'm glad you shared it, because I didn't know that happened.
Just came to me. I didn't even know I was going to talk about that.
So amazing.
So anyway, what we're going to do today is teach you some skills to meet people in their pain and then how to rise above the chaos. So it's two separate things. Meet people in their pain and then come out of that in order to shine. And then also how to rise above, right? Like that opening question. How do you respond when someone tries to bait you and rope you into their chaos? Oh,
golly.
Man.
I got a lot of that, too.
Holy crap.
I'm like the radio signal for it. I'm like, do you want to hear 80s pop rock chaos? I'm your girl. I'm serious. Like, I know what you're talking about. Do you know? Because some people don't try to put their shit on people. I'm a big, like, hey, bring it here. Yeah. What's up? Let's do it. Bring all your shit over here.
100%. My therapist introduced this term to me. She calls them ankle grabbers.
Ankle grabbers. And isn't that funny? Because you almost immediately, in my head, I'm all, you're crawling out of a thing, and people are just grabbing your ankles.
So she talked about this triangle. So if you hold your hands together in a triangle shape.
Yep. We're doing this, people.
We're doing this right now. So everybody, put your hands together, your two fingers, your whatever, make a triangle with your thumbs and your fingers, pointers. Okay, so the bottom level there is the widest. There's the most people down there, and that's the low functioning level. You rise up to the middle level, that's mid-functioning, and then you rise up to the top level there, and there's even less people, and that's high-functioning.
Okay.
That's the state of our society. That's just, in general, how people are.
Yeah.
There are many more low-functioning people out there than there are, especially at the top, the high-functioning.
And we're talking functioning amongst, like, emotional health, kind of being solid.
Emotional, mental health, well-being, self-respect, self-compassion, dignity, right? Like, all these self-worth, self-love, all of that, like, knowing how
Shit's not easy.
No. Knowing how to relate properly to yourself and to others, how to live, all that kind of stuff. I started down at some point in my life in the low functioning. functioning, right? I got sober, and then I started climbing up into maybe more of the mid-functioning. And I spent the majority of my time with her in the mid-functioning area. And as I was climbing out of that and going into the mid and climbing up closer to the high, people would try to grab me by the ankles and pull me back down into their level of functioning, into the low functioning.
Almost like they felt better when you were not well?
Yes. There are people I know for a fact in my life who do not want me well.
That's a terrible thing to recognize, too. They're much better off with me not well than me being well. And you're right. That ankle grabbing thing. And it's not because they don't love you. It's because they're in a place of not loving themselves.
Yep.
So to see it, but to feel it, it's this sense of like, why do you want me sick?
Yeah, it's very sad. It really hurts a lot.
Sick?
I think a lot of it has to do with you are reflecting to them what they might want or who they may want to be. And it makes them feel bad, like you said, makes them feel bad about themselves. It's never about the person that they're pulling down.
Right.
It's always about them. Everything, right? We talk about this all the time. This is nothing new, people.
Right.
We see the world not as it is, but as we are. Right?
Yeah.
And that's,
Which makes perfect sense, though. And I know for me, instead of having a more healed concept of it, I let it make me feel bad. I let it take me back to a place of feeling, well, gosh, why am I not enough that they would want to see me well? Instead of being like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be in it with them.
Yeah, it almost feels like a betrayal or something if I don't go back into it with them. That like I would rather feel bad about myself to try and make them feel better about themselves. That goes back. That's the codependency thing that we were talking about before.
100%. Yeah.
So when people do that and they try to bring you into their chaos and they try and bring you back down to the level that they're at, it's never about me. But when I'm starting to feel that betrayal and that guilt, right? That survivor's guilt of, I made it out of that level. I made it into the next one. How am I going to maintain that? I guess that's the question. Like, how do I maintain that level of functioning without ruining the relationship? Like, we have a lot of that, like, well, if they don't have my best interest at heart, I'm just going to kick them to the curb. We've talked about this before, too. And again, we preface all of our shows with we are not speaking about abuse.
Right.
I do have somebody in my life who feels abusive, and I have kicked her to the curb. You know, my door is always open. If she wants to get help and she wants to have a healthy relationship with me, I will never close that door.
Right.
But I do not allow her access to me. I do not set myself up to wake up to a barrage of nasty text messages that are going to make my blood boil.
Because it's like a busted pipe flooding your house. There's all this energy coming from this thing. What is it going to do for me to let it continue to flow? In my space? Nothing. That's going to flood shit.
It's self-abandoning.
Yes.
You know, I'm abandoning myself when I put myself back on the firing line. Right? When I put myself on the firing line and I know what's going to happen and I know from past experience that this vicious cycle, that eventually this is going to come back to me and hurt me again, what is that saying about my self-love and my self-worth?
Right.
It's saying I'm willing to put myself in a position to be hurt over and over again. So we're not speaking about relationships necessarily like that. We're speaking about people in your life that just don't know how to do any better. They're not coming at you both barrels loaded trying to, you know, hurt you.
It's like a drowning person. Like when they say somebody's drowning, like it's like they're not meaning to pull the person in and drown them too. But guess what? Like out of panic, they will.
Yeah, so a lot of the people we're talking about, it's pretty much unconscious for them.
Yes,
it's not like they're saying, I'm going to mess with Amanda today. It's just where they're at in their life, and they don't even realize that they're doing it.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much the ones that we're speaking about. So if somebody's going through something, how to meet somebody in that pain or even in that struggle and then extricate yourself from it. So mainly speaking about being in somebody's pain when they're suffering. So I talk about in my book, I know a lot of people love the Venn diagram. I love the Venn diagram myself.
The Venn diagram.
And this comes up in the chapter called The Place of Oneness. And to me, the place of oneness is the definition of namaste. Namaste is the soul in me honors and sees the soul in you, and vice versa. And that space is ultimate compassion. Ultimate radical compassion. I have such an immense connection feeling to you and your pain. It's like empathy on steroids. I'm not talking about just regular empathy here. I'm talking about like really taking it as deep as you can go with this person. But in that space, you can also be good. Like, you don't have to give your whole self away in order to feel somebody else. You can actually maintain two different emotions at the same time.
Right. Not only are you allowed to, you're going to benefit that person more by bringing that element of what they don't have right now. Even if you don't have to speak about it or anything. It's just you letting yourself embody it is going to be more medicine for them than you deciding to just wreck your whole system and situation to be at their level. That misery loves company concept, right? Of like, well, I'll just come down to where they're at. You're not going to benefit them by doing that, or yourself.
Yeah. So to go in it with them for a certain amount of time so they believe and they trust that you can feel their pain and they feel comfortable enough to open up to you to allow you to help them in some way, but also maintaining that light, that hope. Having the ability to bring both of those emotions together is, I believe, the most beneficial way of helping a person while you're still honoring yourself.
Yeah.
And not abandoning yourself and saying, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice all of this good stuff that I have to offer because this person might feel less than, or they might think that I think I'm better than, or no, show up, people.
Yeah.
That's what suit up and show up.
Yeah, suit up and show up.
I love my recovery slogans. Suit up and show up does not mean get dressed and go to a meeting.
Yeah.
Suit up and show up means put on your emotions, wear your emotions on the outside, right? And show up in that. Show up in your vulnerability.
Be
show
authentic.
Up in your authenticity.
Yeah.
Show up in your love. Show up in your compassion without being afraid that you're going to be knocked down or hurt or left. So this is just all about really honoring yourself and not self-abandoning and knowing that you have brought those gifts. Jenny talks about the spark all the time.
Yeah.
That's your spark.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah. Bring it. You're not doing anybody any favors by withholding it because you think bringing it out is going to make them feel bad. That's like turning on the light when we want to clean the basement.
Jenny and her metaphors.
Metaphors.
Yes. When are you writing a book, Jenny? When are you writing a book?
Oh, hello. Welcome to my book of metaphors.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of them. It's how my brain processes. There's a lot of times where I'll be like,
works.
Imagery.
It works.
I think about that, like cleaning the basement. Would you be like, I don't want to turn the light on because then I have to see what's there. It's the same thing about, I don't want to be the light when around somebody who's in a dark spot because it's going to be uncomfortable. Well, I can't fix shit if we don't know what's there.
Yeah. And so back to the images, the Venn diagram. I never really explained what it was.
Yeah.
You got the two circles that overlap in the middle. So that space in the middle is that person's pain and your pain too. Be willing to meet somebody in that middle space, trusting that you're going to retreat back to your circle and then they're going to go back into their circle. And the middle one is like where you guys can meet together. And then if you go all the way into their space, you're okay, trusting that you're going to be able to come back into your space
Safely.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
And safely. Safe to love and let go. That's why it's the subtitle of my book. That's it.
Because we definitely will prevent ourselves from doing that out of a fear of, oh God, if I go into this, I'm not coming out safely. So I'm going to just
get sucked in.
Yeah.
It's going to be like quicksand, and I'm never going to find my way out. And they're going to bring me down, and they're going to ruin my energy, and they're going to ruin my day. I mean, how, small is that? That's, such a small mindset of not believing in yourself.
Right.
And
so
your
common.
Ability to take care of yourself.
It's so common.
So common. And I speak from this not from some high hilltop here.
Yeah.
I only speak of it because it used to be me.
Oh God, 100%. It's something I still work through, and I get reminded about it.
And it still comes up.
And I get reminded about it so much because our daughter, she lives this all the time, and we watch it, and it's. As I'm trying to tell her, I'm reminding myself. I'm like, man, I got to remind myself of these things too, because I watch her all the time. And I know it's a little off topic, but not really. Keep in mind too, if there's any of you out there that are neurodiverse at all, or you have ADHD, from watching this whole scenario right here, it tends to be a big trigger and a sensitive place for people who have that fight or flight instinct of ADHD. Kind of keeps your brain in a fight or flight. There are people who really struggle with this, that have ADHD because of this whole rejection sensitivity thing. That's a survival thing. So
yes,
it's like,
that's a great point, Ginny.
Yeah, because I know a lot of you out there have it. Yeah. A bunch of us do. Like, there's so many. And sometimes we just think it's like, oh, God, we're being overly analytical or afraid. If you happen to be one of these people who's neurodiverse, it's going to be even more sensitive for you and something to also give yourself some room, I guess, some grace.
Yes, give yourself some grace. Yeah. If your brain needs to protect itself, let it protect itself.
But there's also ways, though. That's the other thing. There's way, and what we're talking about today, these are great tools, like ADHD or not, like to be able to help you live in that place, knowing and honoring what you're bringing deserves to be there.
That it's possible.
That it's possible, yes, no matter what you have going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell us about Sandy.
Oh, my goodness. So she's constantly in fear all the time, and it happens. Like, hey, Mommy, no, I'm not going to do my hair like that because, so-and-so's going to be upset because and this is a daily thing. Hey, Mommy, I'm not going to sing that song. She's a very good singer and musician, plays piano as well. And for her, it's not just about like, oh, she practices at it. It's an outlet for her. It's one of the most like normal places for her is to be singing or playing music. But anyway, she comes home very distraught about things all the time because it's like, oh, I didn't want to get that part. She literally got a part in a show at school because she's very good at memorizing. Got the part, then asked the teacher the next day if she could give the part back because one of her friends was so heartbroken she didn't get the part. Oh, literally went and said, I don't want the part anymore. And I said, why? She said, Mommy, I made so-and-so cry. She cried so much. And I just it crushed her that this kid didn't get the part. And she wanted to give up her part because of that. I mean, we do talk through it.
Yeah.
And this is a daily thing. This is all the time. So it could be, I don't want to wear that. I like it, but I don't want to look too cute because I'm going to make this other person feel bad about themselves. And I'm glad she verbalizes it because I can be like, listen, kid.
Yeah, what do you tell her?
I always tell her, similarly to what we're talking about now, like, if someone's feeling that way, it doesn't have to do with you.
Yeah.
There's something going on with them. And you have so much light to bring in when she's confident and when she's in that space and when she feels like she's helping. I've seen her do it when she's helping people. She's okay with it and she lets herself shine. And I tell her, you have such an ability to shine. I use his exact words we're talking about today. Don't dim your shine because you're gypping the world and you're gypping God too, by the way. Like the creator that made you with all these wonderful things. Don't gyp the world out of that. You know, you're meant to bring it here. And even if you think you're making somebody uncomfortable, you're not doing them favors by dimming down. You're not.
You have to be. I believe, like, we all have to be willing to take that risk to shine. And if somebody's going to walk away because they're too uncomfortable around us, we have to take that risk. That's like the whole deal here of being comfortable enough. Again, back to All In on Love, Loss, and Connection, our show here. Being willing to lose certain people in your life. You have to be willing to experience the feeling of loss in order to be your true, authentic, bright light that you are.
That's right.
And you are going to lose people.
Oh, man. Yeah. I don't know if you went through this getting sober, but holy cow, it was amazing. The amount of people I thought I had really tight relationships with, poof, like in thin air.
Two friends I can think of right off the bat.
Yes.
That just went
gone.
away. I was told that I reflect something to them that they are uncomfortable with in themselves.
Okay.
And this has happened not just getting sober, but other experiences that I've had in my life when I've lost people. I believe that might be why.
And it's painful at first. And it's painful when
it's
you
very painful.
Choose to own it again, that it was like, oh, it was me being my authentic self that caused this. That's the thing we have to get past. It's not that. It's not, and you will feel some loss, right? But the other part of that was, but am I losing a friendship or am I losing an old behavior and cyclical pattern that I've been stuck in?
Yes.
Because even that feels like a breakup, like a high school breakup, where you're like, oh my God, it's over. We can't go to prom now. But meanwhile, like, all you did was break up and fight all the time anyway. It was never really a healthy thing. And I think you're right. There is going to be a time where we do have these losses, and we will go through a sense of loss, but what
are you gaining?
What are you gaining? Yeah.
From that loss?
that perspective shift of what are you gaining.
Yeah. We talk about partnerships and being drawn into partnerships in order to heal ourselves. We also lose certain partnerships in order to show us what needs to be healed inside of us. So maybe take the focus off of blaming that person, or I can't believe they left me, or I can't believe this happened, and all this pain and this, and say, well, what about me needs to be healed? Because I'm feeling this way, right? How am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What's going on inside of me? So use all of these painful experiences in life to grow.
100%. And to make you stable to the point that you can consistently burn bright and shine, like no matter what the circumstances are around you. We walk around with so much guilt tied to shining our brightest, being our best, being the best version. And family members, you might have family members that are not in that place, or whoever it is, but getting to the point of being like, I don't have to not feel good about where I'm at because I feel bad that this person isn't thrilled with their life, or thrilled that mine seems to be going pretty well.
Yeah, 100%. I have a story as well with my daughter. She was at tumbling one night, and she told me that one of the girls in her class said, can you not be so good because it makes me look bad?
Wow. Flat out.
I am 95% sure that this little girl was aware enough to say it makes me look bad, or I'm not as good as you. Maybe that's what it was. Something like, please don't do so well because I'm not as good. You know, something like along those lines. So, and what and I told her the same thing. I said, no, like, how she feels is not your responsibility.
Exactly.
You are not responsible for this person's feelings.
Yeah.
And like Ginny's talking about, we've grown up. So many of us have grown up, and this stuff is ingrained and conditioned. We've been conditioned through our lives to take care of other people's feelings because we are afraid of losing them.
Oh, yeah.
So
100%.
All goes back to that. And, when I'm walking around in that fear of loss, or the anxiety, or anger, or pity, or whatever, if I'm jammed up with that stuff, I cannot be of service to other people who need my light.
Right.
So I have to be willing to step away, rise above, realize it is not selfish, it's self-care, first of all, and then it's service for other people.
Yeah, because you can't draw from an empty well. You know what I mean? You can't. Like, there's nothing you could do to help people if you're empty.
You got to be completely honest about these relationships, and not just like run immediately because you're sensing that this might be a thing. Like, that's also another issue. What degree do we take this?
Right.
So we're looking here to find sort of a place in the middle, a gray area where like we can find a balance with our emotions, where we can feel some of that stuff and use it as awareness, and use it as like, okay, well, how can this help me? But not stay in that forever. Then move out of it.
Yeah.
Right? We're so black and white. I say this all the time, but we are such a black and white society, maybe because it makes us feel safer knowing how we're going to feel.
Yes, thinking we are controlling the parameters of controlling the chessboard a little bit to be like, I'm going to feel like this. We use it as a guide in a way, and it's not really an accurate one. It's not. Yeah. It's not.
The truth is that we are completely powerless over somebody else's behavior, right? The only thing that we have ways. I talk often about how like the way you react or respond to somebody can either fuel the fire, or you can attempt to bring it down, but you can't always bring it down. You can usually always fuel it.
Almost always. And sometimes it takes nothing. They're like a big, it's like ready to be lit on fire.
They're waiting. They're waiting
for the spark.
Yep. They're waiting for you to come with the lighter fluid, right?
Come on.
Yeah. So you have that control over, are you going to escalate it or are you going to take it down? And that then speaks to what we were talking about in the beginning, the baiting and the chaos and the ankle grabbing and being brought into it. So like, what kind of skills can we give you to not get caught up in that? I don't know. I guess like for me, I try to respond with neutral statements.
Right.
I mean, thank God for the emoji, right? Like...
Open arm emoji. I know. Yeah, I know what you're feeling. Open arm emoji.
Yes. So
I don't give a shit what you're saying. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
But I have to respond. What you're saying really doesn't matter, but I need to act like I heard.
But happy face.
Thumbs up is the ultimate. Like, I don't really care.
Exactly. Yeah, it's such a diss, that thumbs up, right? I do it. And sometimes I really mean it. People that I give thumbs up to, so I really do mean it. But, like, yeah sometimes it is such a way out.
Hey, you, who I sent a thumbs up to this morning, I kind of cared. Just kidding, I cared. JK. So no, I hear what you're saying, because here, part of it, I was listening to somebody this morning actually on a YouTube live, and the guy was talking about how we become so addicted to our story that it's not so much even anymore the pain anymore, but we just put it on replay, like, constant, that we become addicted to the story. And he was mentioning how responding to somebody who had been through real trauma, he said, and I went through real trauma, and it took him years to realize that he was stuck in the story, and that he just needed to keep telling the story. And when people didn't seem like they responded how he wanted, he just needed to tell it more and tell the gory details, and he didn't realize. He's like, and then when I finally had somebody be really honest with me and say, wow, and hear me and say, I'm really sorry this happened. How long do you want to stay here?
Yes.
Because you've been telling me this story for 10 years.
Exactly. There's a time for the sadness.
Yep.
There's a time for the pain. There's a time to go into that. And there's a time to come out of it.
Right. And so you were talking about neutral statements. Like if somebody, for instance, is like, I went through this, I lived this childhood and it was really terrible, and we're trying to offer you guys examples, like you were saying, Amanda. What would be something you might say?
Well, you could just say, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Something where they understand that you see them and you hear them.
And that it matters.
And that it matters, and that their story is important, right? Like the first thing is meet them. That is like the cardinal rule in any sort of like social work or psychology, counseling, in that world. Meet them where they're at. That is like a phrase. I use that with sponsees, and people have to feel seen and heard so that they learn to trust you. And then you could say something like, so how are you doing with that now? Like just already assume that they've made some growth and that they have the ability. How can I now empower them? What kind of statement could I say
a great point.
To empower them?
Yeah, that's, as simple as that is, that one word alone, Amanda, empowering somebody in that place. And how do we do that? And even if it is asking, how are you doing with that now? I guess the next question would be, right, what if they're still stuck? What if they're like, I still feel like total shit?
Well, I would ask, do you want my help?
Good call.
Do you even want?
Do you want to hear what I really? Yeah. Do you want my help with this?
And really, what that means is, do you really want to get out of this, or are you still in a place where you don't even want to move past it? You just want me to be a sounding board. And if that's where you're at, okay, keep that door open. Let them know that I'm not going to judge them, and that I have compassion, and that you're allowed to stay wherever you need to stay for as long as you need to stay. It's almost like when people relapse in the program. Some people need to relapse. Some people need to get to that bottom. And if you want to stay in your pain for as long as you need to stay in it, it might teach you a lesson. You're going to get to some kind of lesson, and trusting that your soul and your spirit know what you need. And then when you're ready to come out of it, I want these people to know that I am here, that I can help you get out of it when you're ready to get out of it.
When you're ready. Program pushes that big time too, which is always so cool. Like these doors are open, and in fact, they almost feel twice as open for people who have come back in more than once, where it's like, no, it's okay that you relapsed. It's okay that this thing happened. Like these doors are always open when you are ready.
When you are ready.
And that's a great point.
But if somebody's coming to you more in the space of like the chaos space, or like they're trying to bait you into some kind of conversation that maybe you've outgrown. Like you get that text, or you're on the phone, you're having a conversation, and they say something that the light bulb goes off, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, I know that. That is behavior that brings us to this really bad place. How do I step out of it? How do I shut that down, like, immediately? And for me, it's just by not even, like, not that I'm not talking about whatever that person's talking about, but I would just shine a different light on it. I would just take it in a different direction, put more of a positive spin on it, whatever comes at the time.
Or maybe, like, the first thought would be, like, a 5-second rule. Like, before you even respond, like, give yourself 5 seconds.
Pause
to be
when agitated?
Yeah. Acknowledge, but how can I, like you said, twist this in a way where the light's shining on it a little more?
Very often a good phrase is like, that must be really hard for you.
That's a great phrase.
Right? That must be really hard
for you.
That sort of extricates me from it. It's like, okay, you could still be in it. You're allowed to still be in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shut you down. But I'm letting you know that that's not where I'm at. Right.
And I'm not going to be the person that continues to make the story true for you. I'm going to hear it, but I'm not going to be the person that is going to put it on repeat for you.
Yeah.
Press the repeat button so we could sit here and do the same thing again.
Do the same dance.
Yeah.
There's a great book. It's called The Dance of Anger. It's by Dr. Harriet Lerner. I read it twice. The first time I wasn't really ready. I wasn't in the space.
Yeah.
I couldn't really take it in. I couldn't really understand what was being said. And then I had the same problem years later. And the same person suggested, hey, did you read that book? Why don't you check that book out again? And I did. And it made a lot of sense. And what she talks about in The Dance of Anger is when you are trying to change the dance steps with somebody.
Right.
Like, say you're cha-chaing with somebody your whole life. Now you're done cha-chaing. You're like, I've cha-cha'd forever. This cha-cha sucks.
This cha-cha sucks. I want to do the electric slide, homie.
Yeah. So then you start doing the electric slide. And guess what? That person still wants to cha-cha.
Yeah.
They are either going to learn the electric slide and start backing it up, take it to the side, take it to the side. They're either going to do that.
Right. Yeah.
I love that you're so happy right now. I love when you're so happy. So they're either going to slide with you or they're not. Or they're going to slide right out of your life. Boom.
Cha-cha out the door.
Cha-cha right out the friggin' door. Yeah. So you have to be willing, like I said, to take that risk. But very often, if you keep sliding, you keep doing your dance moves, and this person's close enough to you in your life that they're sticking around for a while, just maybe they feel obligated or that they should or they don't want to lose that relationship, whatever it is, quite often, they will start doing the electric slide with you.
It's so true, and it's such a good point.
You have to just commit to it. You have to commit to it because what she says is during that process, I think she calls it pushback. I'm not sure exactly the change back. Maybe it's change back. And I'm going to put the name of that book and stuff in the show notes so you guys can look it up. It's really good. It's really, really good. I think I have it up there. I can lend it to you.
Nice.
She says people are going to try. They're going to ratchet up the cha-cha. They're going to start cha-chaing faster and harder, and they're going to be coming at you because they want you to go back to the way it was.
So it's more comfortable for them.
They want to bring you down to the low functioning level. They want you to get involved in that chaos. They want you to be in their pain and their suffering with them in a way that, and I'm not talking about just being compassionate with somebody who's mourning or something like that, but I'm saying when that pain starts coming out sideways and starts being nasty or starts giving you crap. Yeah, exactly. It's not yours to take on. So when that's happening, this is the way that Harriet Lerner suggests, stick with your dance moves no matter how hard they want you to change back into those old dance moves.
Yeah.
You cannot. That is a commitment to you.
That's a commitment to yourself.
Show up for yourself and to not self-abandon.
Right. Got that self-abandoned thing. We could probably do an entire show on that because,
it's so easy to do that for feelings of safety, which are really not real feelings of safety. They're just a mirage of it seems like if I act this way, then I'm going to feel safe. But guess what? That person is most likely going to keep doing something else and then something else and then something else, right? The more you give, the more bait you take, the more they're going to throw out.
It's also, I think, right, as we're building these relationships, and we talk about this always with our connection. It's not just with each other, but with ourselves. And that idea of the more we let ourselves shine, the more that we tell ourselves, and not through words, but through actions, that it's okay to shine, the more that we will just organically do it. Yeah. So you're right. That idea of not just the words, but the intention, the actions, sticking to it, and proving to yourself that you are going to show up for yourself and trusting yourself. No, I'm consistent. I've set this up for me to stay healthy, and I'm going to honor myself in that, and I'm going to teach myself that I can trust myself in these decisions.
Yep. Trust yourself to be all in. It's being all in with yourself and your emotions and whatever's possibly going to come up that's going to feel uncomfortable. Trust yourself that you're going to be okay because you have yourself. The most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself. It's not with your husband. It's not with your kids. It's not with your mom. It's not with your dad. There's an argument that maybe it's God. Maybe that's that. But I believe God and ourselves are one and the same.
God is in us.
Yeah. And for some reason, that feels almost like blasphemy to say something like that.
Crazy?
Doesn't that feel weird? It's like we've been taught God is this entity up in the sky that we have to bow down before.
Yeah. He's angry.
He's pissed at you.
So mad at you.
He's pissed at me right now. Shit, I might get struck by lightning later.
Such a sinner. Oh, you're exactly right.
And God's like, no.
He's like, that's not...
Amanda, I love you. Welcome. Oh, both of us, we have our arms out.
we're
Ginny
like
and I
that.
both have our arms out. Like, wide. Like, God,
on.
like, hugging us. Like, there's no fear here.
No.
Like, I just love you no matter what you do.
Right.
And yes, I am in you. Right? We dip into this a little bit in scripture and church and stuff like that, where they talk about the hands and feet.
Yeah, being
right?
the hands and feet of Christ and all of that.
Yeah. And that God is in you, Emmanuel, right? God with us, like that whole thing. It's in us.
Right.
He, she, it, they is in us.
Yeah,
and we don't have to feel bad about that. That's so freaking empowering.
That's an empowering thing. This isn't a religious podcast, but talking about, even with that being said, people who really follow everything along those lines, even if you are that person, Jesus did say, all these things that I do, you will do and more.
And more.
And more.
Yes.
So why would he have said that if God intended for us to be dim?
No.
Why would he have said that? He wouldn't have. No, we like glorify him. Yes, like in the story that we know about all of it, we glorify that, but we won't glorify it within ourselves.
And we should glorify Jesus and God and the sacrifice and Mother Mary and all that. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's a story of love.
But it doesn't make
lesson
us...
of love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love. That's it. It's about love. But doesn't make us any less.
No.
We do not need to bow down in a sense. Like we need to respect and stuff like that. But we don't need to grovel. We don't need to be small. We don't need to be small. That's why we're here. He wants us to shine, baby, shine.
Yes,
He wants us to be the brightest lights that we can possibly be. And I know when I'm doing that, I feel very much in alignment.
Yes.
With my mission, with who I am, with what I was put here to do. My soul smiles.
Big time. And the thing I've come to realize too is when I genuinely let myself be there and the ego is a little bit more like, the little ego's in like the back seat, people tend to take it in a very loving way. When I'm doing it with love for myself, people don't tend to get offended by the shining. Yes. People are very much like, dude, yes. Like, but when I'm hesitant about it, or I carry that little filter of guilt or whatever, those are the times people notice. Like, it's almost like, I don't know, when you're not there fully, authentically being that, it's a lot easier for somebody to misinterpret and take it the wrong way. But when you genuinely are doing it with love for yourself too, it's a lot more likely they're going to receive it as a loving thing.
When you just are, right? That whole like just be, like when you just are that thing, it is palpable and it is attractive and people can feel it. So you don't need to do much of anything. So today's challenge is really just to be an example. I didn't even put this down in the notes or anything. It's just coming to me now. Like, just be an example of the power of your soul, your spirit, God, higher power, the universe, the stars, the moon, the galaxies, the vastness, whatever it is out there that you believe in that is a loving force. Be an example out there to others. Next time you're with somebody who's suffering, yes, feel their pain. Yes, go into it. Be empathetic and hold your own ground. Stand your own ground in terms of your own space and your duty and obligation to shine. Just be it. Just be it. That's it. Like, really, really freaking simple this week. Just be it.
Yeah, just be it. And know that you are actually helping them by doing that. It might be something that's in complete opposition to how they feel right now, but be that, because that might be that little bit, even if they get a tiny reflection of that light off of you, it might be the thing that helps them get through today. Not you just continuing to let's put more darkness on where they're at. Even if you're just a little bit of that light, it might be the thing that pulls them up a little bit today. And think of it in that way. Don't think of it as, oh, I'm going to, make them feel bad because things are going well. Like, no, just be, like Amanda said, it doesn't even have to be the words or saying anything. Just be present in you being okay.
Yes, in your fullness of grace and goodness and glory.
Yes.
You are allowed to bask in the glory of your goodness, regardless of what's going on around you.
You're going to bring so much more light and life to this whole process that we're all going through, right? At the same time.
For the people that don't have any experience with this at all, the first step, I guess, of all of this is just to become aware.
Right.
Start to practice your awareness. Start to become conscious of when you are in this situation, either by your own willingness, like, oh, I have a friend who's, you know, going through this, whatever, and you reach out or you meet up or whatever, and then also be aware of the people that are pulling you in when you don't want to be in it.
Yeah.
The ankle grabbers, the chaos, all that, the baiters. Be aware of those two separate times of how you're showing up and get really super duper honest with yourself about why am I showing up this way too, right? Like,
Am I
actually in it with them because I want them to feel better? Or am I in it because it's making me feel better? Like, this person needs me.
I love to help people.
Sure. There's nothing, yes.
It's also, though, I'm going to benefit them more by me shining on them, even if they're in a dark spot, the goodness and the hope that I see for their life past this dark point. Not let me also echo how horrible and dark this space is, because you can't see it clearly in you right now, but I can still see that flicker of light, even though you're in a dark place, reflecting the light back. Not so much let me reflect and reverberate what you just talked about, how terrible everything is. Like, you know, let me hear you, but then let me also be like, hey, there's light here, though, and let me show you the light.
Hear
be
you.
The reflection of the light.
Understand. Mirroring, it's called. That's like the actual term for it. You mirror back to somebody. So this is how you're feeling, and this is what went on, to make sure that you really understand them, and then shine that light. One of my favorite prayers is that St. Francis prayer.
Always.
Like, love St. Francis prayer.
Yes.
Where there is darkness, may I bring light. That's just one line. It's great. If you don't know it, go look up the St. Francis prayer. It's a Catholic prayer. It's really just a human prayer, I think.
It's a human, make me a channel of peace, you know, make me a channel.
With this hatred, let me sow love.
Yep. It's such a good one. It's simple, but makes so much sense. And every time I hear it, and especially when it's sung, it strikes a chord for me always, like, oh my goodness. Let me seek to console, not so much to be consoled, but to console. All of that. But let me be a channel. That's such a good reminder, because each time one of us has the ability to do that and give ourselves permission to do it, you're going to change and affect so many more people by bringing your light. We need it. We need it. We need you to bring your light. And the more that you do it, the more that you are going to help foster somebody else doing it. Yeah. It's going to help heal things as a whole, again, for us, not just to be connected to each other, but ourselves.
The whole point of our show, connecting to self and then connecting with others, you need to raise that frequency of your energy first, and that's how you do it, because that is what people want to be connected to, the feeling that they get when they're around you. Right? And then they, like Ginny said, can learn it, can feel it, can say, wow, that's attractive. Wow, I'd like to know how to do that, right? That's why being the example is so important.
So shine, baby, shine.
Shine, guys.
Do it.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I'm trying to think. No,
I have on my notes, don't send the text.
Oh, jeez. What a great sound advice. Yeah, don't send the text, right?
Don't send the text. You might want to go in there with them. You might be like all, taking the bait, and maybe you want to respond in anger, or you're frustrated, or you're, I see what you're doing it again, Don't. Delete. Back that shit up. Delete as many times as you need to.
Yeah, and then go do the electric slide.
Go do the electric slide and then shoot the emoji.
Thumbs up, baby. No, you don't even need to do the thumbs up. You could be like, I wish there was an electric slide emoji. Maybe we should make one.
We should. That would be awesome.
Just some dancing.
That might be like a Giphy.
Funny
like
would that?
Giphy.
That would be so funny. Because think about how disrupted if somebody was like giving you their whole thing.
You just shut it down.
If you sent them the dancing, the salsa lady.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wait, what? And you're like, yay, dancing.
There's a way to shut it down. A very good way. When somebody's attacking you or somebody's angry or whatever, be funny. Just be like the electric slide. That's funny. Like, just be funny. Like, just say something like, funny back, you're going to throw them right off.
You're going to stop the momentum of the anger or the sinking or the whatever that is.
Keep it light.
Yeah,
rise above.
Yeah, dancing salsa lady. They'll be like, you know what? You were a real asshole, and be like, cha-cha-cha, dancing lady in the red dress.
Keep it light. Keep it funny. Rise above. This all goes back to other stuff that we've spoken about, is this emotional maturity and rising up and this emotional evolution. If you can always remember, like we just said, that it's never about you. you, you are freed up to respond in your true self,
Right.
which very often is light and is funny and is happy. Stay committed to who you truly are, which is just love and compassion, and let those parts of you shine.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to make such a difference. And even when you don't think it's that big of a thing, when you can disrupt a momentum of darker, more dense emotions in any way, shape, or form, that reverberates into the universe. Every interaction we ever have is kicking out energy all the time.
Yeah.
So if you can disrupt the momentum of something becoming more negative, you're making a massive shift.
Again, that's where your power lies.
Yeah.
Your power does not lie in trying to change or fix or talk somebody out of the way they feel or what's going on.
No.
Your power lies in being the light.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's it. That is the way you can shut it down, and you could just not doing it today.
Yeah, and let your momentum keep moving upwards.
Yeah, and then go find something that's going to make you happy so that you don't start stewing on it. Like, oh, yeah, I said that, or I reacted like that, but really, I'm really mad.
Yes.
You got to look at all of it, and then just keep doing things to make yourself feel better. And to know that you are a good person, and that because you didn't get all caught up in their drama doesn't mean that you don't care. Just means that you care a little bit more about taking care of yourself and your mental health and your emotional well-being.
Yeah, and if it helps you feel any better, if your thing is praying, well, say a prayer for the person. Or if your thing is even just holding a place of light for them in your mind, an intention. If that helps you release a little bit from some of that guilt that you're saying even after the fact, you might come back to.
Yeah.
Be like, you know what, universe, creator, whatever your thing is, carry them today, hold them today, and help them find a little more of that light. So that way you don't necessarily, if you get yourself tripped up on, I feel bad that I reacted this way.
Yeah.
Then set a good intention for them.
Yeah,
and let it go.
Great.
Keep
That's 100%.
going.
And you might need to do that for a few hours or throughout the day or again at night when you're laying in bed and you're thinking about it and you're like, oh man, I feel bad that I didn't go in it I didn't see them. Maybe they're going to be mad at me now, or I didn't. No, you got to keep doing this stuff until it changes your neural pathways. That's what this is all about, is unlearning learned behaviors.
All the yummy programming we have, it's just great. Yeah, neurological systems, and you're right.
It's huge. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
You could think your way eventually into health. You really can. It takes a long time. The more you're conscious about it, the more like real intention and conviction and genuineness that you have about this kind of stuff, the faster it's going to happen for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm still convinced now more than ever as we keep here. We just had another really good friend find out his twin sister's terminally, well, I don't know terminal, but leukemia out of nowhere. She's not even 40. Twin sister. Yeah. So anyway, just a reminder that the goal here is, you guys, and just because it's part of the hand or the contract we signed up for being here, especially where we live, like there's so many things around us. Any one of us could get sick at any point, even if we're the healthiest.
We were just talking about how we're breathing in plastic. There's so much plastic around.
Yeah.
And guys, we're going to be doing a show on all of that.
Oh, goodness.
The addiction to the shopping and instant gratification and this consumerism and the wastefulness and how it's affecting the climate and how it's affecting our energies and how it's all about greed and money. And we're just gonna rip that thing right apart.
Yeah, because the truth of the matter is, in the world we happen to live in and in the environment we all live in right now, and it's not to point fingers and say all these things, it's just the truth. The odds of one of us becoming ill or someone you care about becoming ill with a disease or anything, just passing in an untimely way, maybe succumbing to addiction, whatever. There's so many things. Bottom line, our time is short. So the more every day that you can be here practicing even a little bit more of being authentically present, we're all going to be better off for it, because none of us is guaranteed any more time than 10 minutes from now. We don't know. There's so many things.
Right now. I could fall off this chair right now.
We
only have this very moment.
Yes, exactly. So we're all going to help each other by showing up as exactly who we are. It's a brief moment. We're here. Whatever we're carrying and bringing, that spark, it's brief. And the more you can bring it out in me, the more I can bring it out in you. And we can all feel better, however much time that ends up being, right?
Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya.
Yes, all of that, right? And I was starting about going, and we're doing the electric slide. Yeah, we're going to do a remix.
Back to all my bar mitzvahs I went to. Bar mitzvahs when I was 13 in Oceanside, New York.
See, you grew up in New York. We didn't do that. We went to quinceañeras. Yes, quinceañeras. Not the bar mitzvah, but we still do the electric slide.
We can't wait to video this stuff for you guys because we're dancing,
So
we're
much more
rocking, we're
fun.
bopping back
Yeah.
and forth, snapping our fingers. So much
We're going to
fun.
get there. Do the electric slide.
Yeah. Put on the electric. It's electric. You're electric.
Yes.
You're electric. Literally. You're
Yes.
electric. All
All
right,
of
guys.
us.
We're going to bounce. Thank you so much for being with us.
So happy to be here.
This is great. Email us again, Soul Rising, SOL Rising.
I'm reading now. I read our show notes, but I didn't see the title of Amanda's email, and it really says shine, mofo, shine, but it's not mofo. It's another word I'd normally use, and it has me friggin', I love it. So, hey, mofos, you better go shine. Do it up.
Go shine, mofos. All right, we love you all.
We love you so much. Come back and see us.
See ya in 2 weeks.
Love ya. Peace out.
If this podcast resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. That's McCoy with a K. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
See you next time. Until then, let that soul rise.